I believe that Max Holloway is going to have a very difficult time in his upcoming fight with Ilia Topuria, and the only real question that I have is how is Ilia going to beat him? Will he knock him out? Will he submit him? Or will he beat him in a lopsided decision? Now, before all you Max fans rush to the dislike button, I just want to say for the record that I too am a Max fan. I just happen to be calling it how I see it in this one, so I want to make a little bit of a deal with you. First and foremost, hear me out, and if you still find that you disagree, leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know why, and if it turns out that I'm wrong after making such a bold prediction here, I will make almost the entire background of my next video just all the comments disagreeing with what I say in this one. But I do have a feeling I'm not going to have to worry about that because I am extremely confident in this pick, and I'm going to outline in this video why I feel that way. And in order to be as balanced as possible, I will also go over the game plan that I think Max could use to actually win this fight. But before I get to all of that, if you find that you enjoy the video, please give it a like. That really helps me out. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do that as well. I would love to have you here for future content. So to kick this off, I do have to say I was very wrong about Max in his fight with Justin Gaethje, as I picked Justin Gaethje to win that fight. And immediately after I was wrong in that case, I did admit it in my following videos, and I even said that I wouldn't be able to doubt Max again. But while Max did a great job in that particular fight, after some further reflection on it, I don't know that we saw the best version of Justin Gaethje. About a week before that fight, I started to get the feeling that Justin just was not into that fight. He really liked Max, he really respected him, he never wanted to fight him, and I feel like that showed in his performance, whereas Max was all too eager to have that fight. And whether you believe it or not, the mentality in a situation like that can make a dramatic difference. But regardless of that, Max won, and he won in impressive fashion, and he deserves all the credit for it. But even though I said I wouldn't doubt him again, I didn't mean that to say I would never pick against him again, and I just happen to believe that his fight with Ilia Topuria is a very bad matchup for him, and I think the chances of him winning this fight are well less than 50%. Now, that's not to say he can't win this fight, and I am going to outline what I think is his best path to victory, but overall here, I'm going to lay out the case why I think Ilia is going to win this and win it pretty easily. So first, I want to start off with the joint interview that they recently had, where I really feel like Ilia had the much better answers to the questions, and where I also sensed that Max was not very confident in himself here. There was just something about Max's demeanor that gave me the impression he doesn't feel very good going into this fight. I did not see a guy who was highly confident that he was going to win or have an answer for the style that is Ilia. And while you might think that something like this doesn't matter, I can tell you that in many cases it absolutely does. I was sensing extreme confidence out of Ilia and that he knows exactly what he's going to do in this fight, and I just was not getting that same thing at all from Max. And going back to Max's fight with Justin Gaethje, it's the same sort of dynamic where I didn't feel like Justin Gaethje really wanted to be in that fight or was confident, whereas Max really was. Now, the second thing that I want to look at is the common opponent that they both have in Alex Volkanovski. As everybody already knows, Max took 3 tries to try to win against Volkanovski and couldn't do it, but Ilia went out and actually made it look very easy. And while Max has a 4-inch height advantage over Ilia, I don't think that's going to mean anything at all. It certainly didn't against Volkanovski. And also, Max and Ilia have the same reach, so he's not going to have an advantage there. And while Max is more of a volume puncher that can knock somebody out after a couple rounds of wearing them down, Ilia is a power puncher that can knock somebody out at any point. And along those lines, the next point I want to make is that Max generally takes a lot of damage in his fights. He didn't take a tremendous amount against Justin Gaethje or the Korean Zombie, but if you look at his fights with Volkanovski or his fight with Yair Rodriguez or Arnold Allen, he took a lot of damage in those fights, and I don't think he's going to be able to take those kinds of hits from Ilia Topuria over 5 rounds. I know that Max has a legendary chin, but I do not believe he could take the same shot that knocked out Volkanovski, especially if he gets damaged a lot before that shot lands. In addition to that, Ilia Topuria is very defensively sound, and it's going to be difficult for Max to land on him effectively. The only time that Ilia ever got rocked was the head kick from Jai Herbert that landed pretty flush, and Ilia was still able to recover from that and win that fight. Other than that, we've never really seen Ilia Topuria in any sort of trouble whatsoever. So I think if this fight comes down to Max taking a bunch of damage and trying to find a way to win in the end, that's not going to work out in his favor. The next point I want to make, and one that is very important, is the fact that Ilia Topuria is the one who will determine where this fight takes place. Max has never been known to be strong in the grappling area, while Ilia Topuria is very skilled there and dangerous. So if for some reason Ilia finds himself ineffective on the feet, he will be able to take this fight to the ground, and at a minimum, run out the clock and keep Max there. And finally, most of the guys that fight Max have a really strong like for him and respect, and in many cases, I think that can actually be a lot for guys to overcome. But in the case of Ilia, while he does definitely respect Max, he doesn't really have that same reverence that a lot of guys have for him going into a fight with him. Ilia is coming into this to dispatch of Max and do it easily. He's not going in there to compete with his buddy Max like a lot of guys might be. Ilia is going to be going in there to take his head off, and he's just the kind of guy that can actually do it. So just to sum up why I believe Ilia Topuria is going to win this fight, I see him as the more confident one coming into this, and when I look at his power combined with his defensive capability, I see a very narrow path for Max to be able to outstrike him and win in that area. And once again, if Ilia finds himself ineffective on the feet, he can always take this fight to the ground and win it there. Ilia's tough. He's shown that he can go a full 5 rounds. He has a very high fight IQ as well. And this is going to be a very difficult fight for Max to win based on his style. Now, with all that said, I did tell you that I think there is a path for Max to win this, and I'm going to lay that out now. The first thing that I think he will have to do is come in with the same focus that he had in the Justin Gaethje fight. If you look at his eyes in that fight, they're wide open the whole time, and he's alert at every point. There is next to zero chance that Max finishes Ilia in this fight, and so the focus for him should be winning on points and avoiding damage as much as possible. The last thing that Max will want to do is get into a trading battle with Ilia, and instead he needs to use a lot of movement and striking from a distance as much as he can. Now, Ilia is going to try to back him up against the fence the way that he did to Volkanovski, and if he does that, Max is going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think there's 2 things he can do in that case that would be effective against that attack. The first is he just needs to keep his defensive guard up around his chin. If he goes in there thinking that he can't be knocked out, it's going to be a bad night for him. But the other thing I think he should use, which he showed us in the Justin Gaethje fight and I believe will be very effective against Ilia, is that very quick and short-range spinning back kick that he has. He's able to throw that very fast and without telegraphing it, and with Ilia being a bit shorter, there's a strong possibility that he can make that land during the fight. And if he throws that and hits Ilia with it effectively a couple of times, that could make Ilia hesitant on pressing him against the cage. But all in all, the path to victory here for Max is to actually make this, unfortunately, a boring fight where he moves a lot, stays out of danger, and deploys countermeasures when he needs to, like when Ilia presses him against the fence. But for the most part, just to stay away and win on points the way that Volkanovski was doing in his fight with Ilia until he got knocked out. So when it comes to my overall prediction for this fight, I am extremely confident that Ilia is going to be the one who walks away the winner here. And of all the possible ways that he could win it, I think there are 2 that are very likely. First and foremost, I can absolutely see Ilia getting a shock knockout win over Max, just like he did against Volkanovski. But second to that, I could see this also going 5 rounds if Max is smart, but in that case, I would still give Ilia the edge to win a decision. And in terms of a submission, I would actually put the odds of that far lower than those other 2. Now, there is a chance that Max comes out and fights a very smart fight, keeps his distance, is able to work from the outside and win on points. And if I had to assign a probability to that outcome, I would probably only give it 25%. So those are my thoughts and opinions on Max versus Ilia. Please let me know down in the comments what your opinions are. Do you completely disagree with me? And remember what I said, if I'm wrong about the way this fight goes, I will put as many of the disagreement comments that I can in my next video as the background. But now that I'm thinking about it as I'm talking, I might just do the same thing if I'm right. So either way, I'll look forward to reading what you have to say about this. And once again, if you found that you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.